Good morning, folks. Just trying to analyze what Dewey put out a couple of days ago. And, I'm trying to put myself in his shoe as a young man who married an older woman and how he really felt. I know a lot of people are siding with Queenie because she's the loudest. A lot of times you side with the person who is the loudest, but this is not a matter of siding. I'm not siding with neither one of them. I'm just stating the case how each person felt in the relationship, whether they're wrong or right. I'm putting it out there and I'm now breaking down Dewey's point of view because I did Queenie's point of view last night. Now I'm going to play the recording of Dewey and then I'm going to break it down and then play it again. I'm going to be interjecting. So here we go.
You hear that? In a real life, me a man and me have feelings. You get me? So when my wife tell me that, me no bother want to do no performance. My blood clot vibes dead. My vibes broke. What you tell me about?
Right here, he was talking about her telling him that he bad mind her, meaning he was jealous of her. He mean her no good, and he was jealous. And so he felt so hurt. I guess for a lot of us, if someone says you bad mind me, you would simply say, you know what, I'm not jealous of you. I mean you every good. For some people, it's it hits them to the core because I have quite a few men who look at my program. I have to show a different side. I have to give their perspective, how they would feel, how do we felt. And from a man's point of view, I got to give that point of view or attempt to because I'm a female. But I can imagine this is how some guys feel when they are in a relationship, whether it's an older woman or a younger woman, they feel stifled in the marriage. And I'm getting the sense that Doobie felt stifled, that he could not be heard because his wife is so powerful. And this is what we saw on national TV. When she would call Dewey, it would be Dewey in this powerful voice. So I can imagine what she did off the camera. So this young man felt as though he could not be heard. He was disrespected. And a lot of times when men feel like this in a relationship, it drives them to go to that other woman who can be more gentler with a softer tone and treat them with open arms, cuddly and warm and fuzzy. You guys know what I mean with love. Saying that you love a person and acting like a man is two different things. Because if you say you love this man and you act so masculine, the man does not feel the warmth. So he goes to a female who can show him that warmth. And this is what I'm getting from Dewey and Queenie's relationship. And if there's anybody out there who can identify with what I'm saying, I want you to drop your comments, whether female or male, if you think this is what Dewey was truly feeling, that he felt as if he was not heard. Because remember, there are two sides to every story. And we got to look at it in a very open way and not just one-sided. Because like I said before, Queenie does a lot of talking. She's the loudest. She puts out the most videos. But when Dewey puts out a video, then she gets offended and say, look at my husband. Look how he's talking. He shouldn't be talking. But yet, every single day, a couple of times a day, she gets on her live and she talks about the relationship. So I found that to be very disingenuous. It's one-sided. She must do all the talking, but this young man can't. Whether he's right or wrong is a different story. That's not what I'm getting at. I'm getting at he have a right to voice his opinion because like he said, he's a human being. He got feelings too. So let's continue to listen.
Me's a human being. You hear that? You get me? And she have me from this to me not go up on the stage.
So it sounds as if both of them had hard feelings against each other for different reasons. And it was tit for tat. Like if both of them were children. She had him up for not going on the stage. He didn't go on the stage because she told him that he maliced her. So it was these mind games, these childish games. And it's so minute that it broke the marriage up when a little bit of talking, just coming to a meeting of the mind, could have saved the marriage.
You understand? But if you lower my feelings, we expect me for go perform.
But this is where experience come in. He was supposed to perform and talk about the problems later on behind closed doors with his wife. But for a lot of people who are in their feelings and who are immature in certain matters, they would not perform either. So I understand where he's coming from. However, I don't agree that he should not have performed. He should have performed because that was his job. You got to look at performance as a job, not as something that, oh, if my wife get on my nerve, I'm not going to perform. So that's where I fall Dewey, because he did not see the bigger picture that people paid money to see them. And when people pay money, they expect a performance. They're not concerned about their personal and marital problems. They want to see a performance. People are not concerned about Dewey and Queenie's personal marital issues when they pay $40 to see a show or whatever they paid. So I guess someone should sit down and explain that to him before it happens again. It may not happen with Queenie, but it may happen with somebody else, because now that we know that he is making music while he's down there in Jamaica, he's got to be more professional.
And when we go up there, go perform, people say, oh, him never put out him this and him never put out him that. I better me not go up there. You get me? So by me not go up there, it cause one of the attention. I so come now, me and hear say, me bad mind. You understand? You hear she say, me I show you something now. If me walk in a house 21 times for a day and call to our kids them. You hear that? But me say to you, out of 21, if one time them call to me, God bless me to pussy clot. You hear me tell you?
So clearly, this problem with the kids have been long standing. Her adult kids, Queenie's adult kids, and Dewey do not speak really, because he said if you call any one of them 21 times, they're not going to answer. And God bless him if one of them answer him at least one time. So that tells me this is an ongoing issue. It has been an ongoing issue from the time they got married. And that problem should have been addressed early on. Queenie, the kids, and maybe someone else who can referee all the disputes that was going on between Dewey and the kids. Because remember, Dewey is as old as Queenie's kids. He is what, 32, 33, around there? And her kids are about the same age. So you're talking about this young man coming into their family, and they're not going to call him dad, but he's a dad figure. It's going to have contention, not only in Queenie's family, in any family, that this young individual is going to want them to respect him. And they're not going to respect him because they're going to put their foot down and say, look, you're our age. They're not going to say it outright, but they're going to be thinking it. I'm older than you. Why should I give you that respect like a dad and call you papa or whatever? So all those things should have been ironed out before they got married. Queenie, her kids, and Dewey should have came to a meeting of the mind and said, listen, Dewey's going to be a part of my life. I want you guys to respect him. You ain't got to call him dad because he is younger than some of you. But give him that respect because he is my husband. I don't want you guys fighting with him. And Dewey and those kids, Queenie's kids, they should have started to bond in some way, like doing stuff together, going to sports games, basketball games, going to dinner together just to know each other and start that bonding. But apparently the bonding never took place. So there was always contention from the get-go. And that contention carried through the marriage because he said If he called any one of them during the course of a day, they wouldn't answer. They're right there, they wouldn't answer. So that made him feel a kind of way, made him feel as though he is not important in their lives. He is feeling disrespected at that point. Because if you call somebody and they're right there and they don't answer you, it's a source of contention. You're going to feel disrespected.
In a real blood clot life. So who into who from who not into who?
So now Dewey is looking at it tit for tat. If you don't talk to me, I'm not going to talk to you too. If you don't answer when I call you, when you call me, I'm not going to answer you too. You can't go into it like that. Because remember, he's supposed to be the father figure in the home. He's supposed to be setting the example. And this is the thing with younger relationships, older relationships. They call it May, December relationships. You cannot go into it with that mindset because you're trying to mend the family and blend the family and not cause contention. So in this particular situation, Dewey should have looked at it as, you know what? I married this woman for better or for worse. The kids don't like me. I got to make them like me. I'm not going to bend and break my back for them to like me, but I'm going to make an effort. It sounds like if he never made an effort for them to even try to like him in any way. Because if he calls them and they don't answer, he's going to leave the house and cop an attitude instead of sitting down and talking to them as to, listen, I called you, you didn't answer. Let's get it out on the table. Why you don't like me? Let's iron it out because I want you to get along with me. I want us to get together and I want us to get along. Let's do something together so we can get to know each other. You know, apparently none of that was done and the effort was not put forth. I know it's easier said than done. And I'm wondering what role did Queenie take in trying to get Dewey and her kids to get along? Because as the wife in the household, Queenie got to take some responsibility also because they're her kids. It was up to her to sit and talk to them adult kids, that she's marrying a young man and their role and how they should give him that respect. And I don't know if they're living with her in the same house, but any adult child living in the same house, it would be a problem.
In a real life now. You get me? I have love for my wife, and I still love my wife.
And so we're going back to the number one thing that Dewey and Queenie keep saying, that they love each other. So the little things that's keeping them apart, I think that those things can be ironed out through counseling, marriage counseling, because they do have love for each other and they do love each other. Now, I don't know if they're in love with each other, because when you have love for someone is different than being in love. And I think going to marriage counseling can sort out all of that, you know, sort out the forest from the trees, so to speak. But going back to Dewey and how he's really feeling, let's continue to listen.
But when me hear my wife say me blood clot bad minor, I want to hear, man. I pussy my wife have a cocky me have me can't bad mind my wife and nothing at all. You hear that?
Maybe he didn't bad mind her. Maybe he was malicing. Maybe he was holding a grudge, in other words. And this carried over from the holiday, all that went on before then, Thanksgiving. You know, it's just childish wish, childish behavior. And Queenie said he did not or does not sit down and talk to her. He's always running. Why? Because she's always yelling and screaming. And I'm telling you, folks out there who want to be heard and want your relationship to work, two people yelling and screaming cannot be heard. You got to sit down calmly and talk about your issues. Because if both of you are yelling and screaming, no one is going to be heard. So Dewey running from Queenie's talking, or she trying to talk to him, she says he's always running, signals to me that he don't want the yelling and screaming. And she never got it. And I still don't think she gets it. She yells and she screams, and that's what we see on TV. And that's what he's running from. He's not running from really conversating with her. It's the way that she's delivering that conversation. That's what he's running from, the yelling and the screaming.
In a real blood clot life. You hear that? Some things me don't even want for go in a fam. Cause I know me that. But me hear the pan a live a talk or something but me not in a youth them. And your youth them been not in a me fam. Your youth them been not in a me already. You hear that?
So this is what I mean with experience. If Queenie was with an older man, that older man would understand that he have to reach out to those kids and try to bring them into his fold, bring them into loving him. You can't say, okay, the kids are not into me, I'm not going to be into them. It doesn't work like that, because whenever you're going into a relationship, those kids are always going to look at you sideways, especially if you're younger than their mother. Even if the person is the same age as their mother, they're going to try to be protective. They're not going to want to conversate and talk to that individual coming in. They're going to look at them 3 and 4 ways, like if they're trying to use their mother, especially if they're younger. So this should not have been a surprise to Dewey, and he should have reached out and tried to get to know these kids. But like I said before, age brings wisdom, and in Dewey's case, because he's so young, he's younger than my kids actually, because he's so young, the wisdom is not there. But it's not always like that for every young person. Some young people are very wise. It's just in this case, Dewey is not as mature, and could not live up to could not rise to the occasion of getting along with Queenie's children. And like I said before, several conversations should have been had. They should have had a sit-down meeting. He should have had a sit-down meeting with these kids and really tried to iron out their differences. But apparently, they never got along from the get-go. That's what I am gathering from what he's saying. But let's continue to listen.
So I don't know where you tell me about. I talk about me around. And I stay far. You see me, cause as you and your royal crazy them set me a hold you down, fam. You see me? I mean I want for hold you down no longer.
Well, it sounds as if his feelings is easily hurt. Not everybody's the same. Some people are tough as nails. Queenie's tough as nails, so she can understand. I think she can understand because of her age. Age brings wisdom. That she's got a young person. He's as young as her kids. And he's in his feelings. He feels as though because all her royal crazy, her supporters are saying that he's holding her down, he's stopping her from getting ahead, that he should, exit the scene. And that's what he's doing. So he's in his feelings. Queenie got to remember when she was around that age, 32, 33, how she felt if somebody said something about her. She would be in her feelings also. It's very few young people who are not as mature at that age to withstand ridicule, especially when it's coming from thousands of people. So she's got to put herself in that shoe. That's what she signed up for when she married a young man.
In a real life, I don't want to. You see me? I mean I want for bad mind you. So me just steer my ways. You understand? I used to me I not have nothing. Nothing me ain't have. You hear that? Nothing me ain't have. You get me? It's just the main factor. You keep on a come. And all when man tell you say, watch you know, me not in and argue, you still a come. I eat bring it which party there.
And that is another thing, ladies. If you're in an argument with your husband, boyfriend, significant other, whether woman or man, if the person said, listen, I don't want to discuss it right now, let's discuss it later, don't pursue it. Leave it alone and say, okay, let's discuss it later. Because in that moment, you're liable to say something that you cannot take back on both sides. He did not want to discuss this heavy discussion in the car. Queenie had him in the car driving with the kids. He said he did not want all the arguing. And she kept on with the arguing. And he just wanted to exit the car. Queenie said at one point he was trying to press the metal to stop the car. And she said when he couldn't press the metal, he was trying to open up the door of a moving car with all her kids in there. But that's what you get when a person really wants to get out the car, because he kept telling her that he wants to get out the car and she would not let him out. So what you get is a person who is so maddened by all the talking, because all that talking can drive you temporarily insane, okay? He just wanted to jump out of the car even if the car was moving. And I know for a lot of people, they would have done the same thing. As crazy as it sounds, when you want to get away from a person and the talking, and apparently Dewey cannot stand all this talking, okay? Because of the way she delivers her message, it's all this yelling and screaming and cussing and arguing. And it's one-sided because he don't have to answer back. She just keeps going and going. And a lot of times, folks, isn't that what we do with our own kids when they don't want to listen to what we have to say because they keep running out of the house every time we have something to say to them, or they run in the room and they lock the door and put the pillows over the ears. They shut us off. So what do? We put them in the car and we have a long road trip and we talk. And they don't want to hear it, but there's no choice. They're a captive audience. That's pretty much what happened to Dewey. And that's why he was trying to get out of that car. And you cannot treat grown adults as children. You gotta give them that respect. Instead of having them in the car yelling and screaming, your kids are present and he feels as though he's being ganged up on. It's best to sit down in an environment like a restaurant and just talk out your issues, where you can have drinks and good food, and really he can be receptive, because when people are in a better frame of mind and a better mindset, they're open to conversation.
You hear that? Because I see me a drive with you in a vehicle and I tell you, let me out, let me out. You still argue with me, argue with me. Till you tell me say I'm a bad mind, now I'm a bad mind. Now, you know that make me feel? Eh? If you see I'm their own people, you talk say I'm a bad mind. You get me? And when me literally come out of the vehicle and I walk go around stranger just for show you. Me I run bumbo clock water for hear what my wife say.
So Dewey said his eye ran water to hear his wife say that he bad mind her. And for a lot of people, it's nothing. It's a little thing, but for him, it was like a deal breaker. It really affected him, because for tears to come out his eye, that must have affected him.
Eh? Bad mind you? Must be sick in it, man. Before my bad mind nobody on earth, man. My bad mind, my blood clot self. You hear that? In a real life, me I tell you that. So one boy with a bad mind, nobody on God life. Because everybody have them own 20 blood clot 4 hours on the clock. You understand? And me now you no know when we are go up or when we are go down. So me can't bad mind a pussy. You hear that? And me can't bad mind a boy or a girl in a real life. That's not my style, fam. You hear that? So it's when me hear them thought they come from somebody where me love, eh? You see, before it reach a point where it not for reach, you understand me? I say, me stay far.
So it's two communication styles. Instead of him confronting the problem and ironing out the issue, he don't want to get into any argument. He stay far. Queenie, on the other hand, wants the arguing and wants the confrontation because she want to iron out issues. So she's very confrontational. So you have two people here who can't come to a meeting of the mind. And the only way they can meet right there in the middle is through marriage counseling or a counselor. But what Dewey is saying is typical how a lot of guys feel. A lot of guys don't like arguing. They look at that as nagging. And so they leave the house, they don't come back for hours. A lot of times, if they're married, they will work overtime. They will work until they drop just so they don't come in the house because they don't want to cheat. And for those who are cheating, they will continue to cheat. They will find every woman inside. They ain't in love with the girls. They're not in love with the women, but they just want time away from that wife who they view as nagging. But in Dewey's case and Queenie's case, I get this clear sense that he really did not want the marriage anymore because of all the arguing and yelling and the screaming that Queenie was doing to him and airing his business out there in YouTube land. He really did not want the marriage. And I got a clear sense of this when he posted up that video kissing that young woman's neck around the Christmas holiday. That's when I got a clear sense that no, this marriage is over. This young man does not want this marriage. And that's when Queenie should have cued in on what her husband really wanted. Because it makes no sense for her to do the fighting and he has given up. That's what he did. He gave up. But he gave up when she was still fighting for the marriage. She's not wrong in fight. She was not wrong in fighting for the marriage, but she should have had a clue by then that she didn't have a marriage anymore. So there was nothing wrong in fighting for the marriage, but it's how you fight for the marriage. So it's not what you do, it's how you do it. For instance, Queenie went to somebody's house to fight her, Maudie. And ladies, I gotta tell you guys this, if you don't already know. Fighting another person for your husband is not gonna accomplish anything. Because if he wants to cheat, he's still gonna cheat. If he don't want to be with you, he's gonna be with that person, the other person regardless. So the fighting does not make sense. It's best to just separate if it comes down to that. So Queenie going to Maudie's house, wanting to fight her, was ridiculous. Grown women should not put themselves in that situation, and Queenie put herself in that situation to be disrespected by Maudie and everybody else in the UK when she did that. That didn't bring Dewey closer to her. As a matter of fact, it drove him further apart from her, further away. So for all those who are married and wanted to do the same thing, you can cross that off of your bucket list. That's not the way to go.
In a real life. Whenever I go live, but for hear my wife over there talk some blood clot about me a pitney. Pitney my bumbo clot. Pitney what? Me see my wife, as she say, car rental in a real life. You see me? This is why me no pay it no mind. You get me? One blood clot person come rent the vehicle from my wife. You get me? And before me even get the vehicle, I turn to my wife and say, don't rent that nigga my vehicle. You get me? And my wife look for me and say, alright. And by 20 minutes after, she look for me again and say, why you gonna make the vehicle stay there?
Now, right here in this situation, I am wondering who bought the car. If Queenie bought the car, then I guess she got a lot of say-so. But it's his vehicle, whether she bought it or not. She feels she has say-so maybe because she bought it. I don't know. It's alleged. But if she bought the car, she probably felt as though she can rent it anytime she wants to, although it's Dewey's vehicle. But I want to let you guys know something. If you buy something for someone, it's theirs. It's not for you to go and take it and do with it whatever at any time. In this situation, Queenie should not have rented that car because it's Dewey's car. When he said, don't rent my car, that's what he meant. Don't rent it. It's disrespectful if she did rent it behind his back. And I don't know if she even realized that she should not have done that. It's like him buying her something and then taking it and giving it to somebody and say you can use it. It's not his place to do that. Same thing, it's not her place to rent that car if it's Dewey's car. Whether she buy it or not, it's his now. So I thought she was wrong for doing so. I gotta call a spade a spade. All those little things make or break a marriage. And sometimes people wonder, well, it was just a little thing. How come they get in a separation and divorce like that marijuana cigarette? Because it was the little things that added up over a period of time.
When somebody wanted for rent it, you understand it can out do business and whatever. See, if I hear my wife start go behind my talk, eh? Me not have nothing more to say, because me know what time is it. You get me? So me just leave it alone. You understand? Anyway, them rent him the vehicle, and when them rent him the vehicle, him go sub up and mash up the front end. Me come a Jamaican, me see that and, my wife start it up back, whatever. You get me? Come back again, and the man a go rent the vehicle, and me look for my wife again, and me say, don't rent the man my bumbo clad vehicle, because you see what happened last time. You hear that? And me see my wife go behind my back again, and rent the man the blood clad vehicle. You hear that? And when she rent him the vehicle this time, I don't know what happened if a police lock him up or what. I send, she have to send, man, she have to send to our friend them for go for car.
So we got a clear picture that Dewey did not want his vehicle to be rented. Queenie rented the vehicle twice, although he said no. So as a man in a relationship, he's feeling as though, or was feeling as though, his voice was not important. It wasn't being heard. His wishes was not granted. He was not looked upon as though he was the man in the relationship. All those things men go through. It goes through their head. If they got a strong woman who is dictating everything and doing everything, wants to tell them everything, they say, look, I'm not a man in this relationship. So they feel a kind of way. And when a man feels like that, he goes out and he gets comfort in the arms of someone who can comfort him and give him that warmth. And that's where all that cheating starts coming in. No, it does not justify the cheating, but it explains it. So a lot of females out there who are going through the same thing, learn from this. Know that if you act like a man in the relationship, you're so strong that you push your husband aside in terms of him making decisions and in terms of him having input in various decisions. You can't say that you're going to decide and then you fault him for not deciding. Because clearly, Dewey said he didn't want the vehicle to be rented. Queenie went behind his back twice and rented it. And then she gets out there on the internet and said he doesn't input into anything. Well, he doesn't input, and he did not input because Queenie would circumvent whatever it is he wanted and whatever he wanted to say. So he felt as though his voice was not being heard. So drop your comments, guys. Let me know why you think Dewey is wrong, or is he in his right to just put his foot down and say, look, I'm not going to tolerate the disrespect. We're not talking about the womanizing. We're talking about his voice being heard in the relationship. Anyway, it's a learning and teachable moment for a lot of people who are not only in a marriage, in relationships, of what to do and what not to do. And we got a clear picture from Dewey as well as Queenie of what to do and what not to do in a relationship if you want to make it work. YouTubers, I'm over now. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel and to this video. Thank you for watching.